This is 11.3. The goal of this activity, assignment, notes, is to help you just recognize and put together when to use law of sines, when to use law of cosines. So you should already, and if you're not, you're going to need to go back. You should already be proficient with law of sines and law of cosines. So go back, watch 11.1, 11.2 if you are not. And I highly suggest that you pause this video and try 1 through 5 just to test your skills on law of sines and law of cosines. Alright, so pause this, try it, and then come back and watch it, because I'm going to just basically make sure you got the right answers. So number 1, if you look at it, UNC, the professor from UNC drives 9.8 miles to Duke. So hopefully you labeled that 9.8. He then turns and drives 23.9 miles to give the same talk at North Carolina State University. So that's 23.9 miles there. Two roads make a 100-degree angle. So here we have side, angle, side. Use the law of sines or law of cosines to determine how far he will have to drive to get to NCSU back to UNC. So we have side, angle, side. And if we try, so I'm going to tell you which ones work for which. You can memorize it, but really, you can set them up, and if they don't work, use the other one is kind of an option also, right? But whenever you have side, angle, side, you're going to want to use law of cosines. So I'm going to call this one angle A, angle B, and angle C. So I want to find side little c, so that's going to be c squared equals 9.8 squared plus 23.9 squared minus 2 times 9.8 times 23.9 times cosine of 100. And you should notice this is the law of cosines. Be familiar with that. So I put all of that in my calculator, and then I took the square root of both sides to get rid of the square, and I got 27.36 miles. Law of cosines for side, angle, side. Alright, 2 is just for fun. If you check on Google Maps, hey Google, navigate from NCSU to UNC, it'll tell you that it's actually 23.9, not because we did our math wrong, but because I got the original distances by finding, because obviously I couldn't go over there and measure that, but I got their original distances by, by just finding their driving distance. So not the real triangle, so that's why it's off a little bit. Anyway, so really close, but because I used the actual driving distances and not a real triangle, so the roads aren't exactly matching up. But anyways, we got to use the law of cosines. Okay, find the angle made, so let's put that there. Okay, find the angle made at the University of North Carolina and North Carolina State University. So this one, I'm going to be finding angle A. So find the angles made at each one, but I'm going to use angle A and find North Carolina State University first. So now you're going to notice I have side, 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 angle. So a couple ways to state this. So I have side, side, angle. And then because I have side, 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 now I could actually use law of cosines, but I want to use law of sines. But because I have a side, side, and an angle, side, side, angle, I can do this. So I'm going to do sine of A divided by 9.8, law of sines, equals sine of 100 divided by 27.36. Put that in my calculator, get A alone. I'm going to have to use inverse sine, if you remember. That's going to give me 20.7 degrees. Then to find B, I'm actually not going to do any law of sines or law of cosines. I'm just going to do 180 minus 100 minus 20.7 degrees. Those are all degrees. And I will get B is 59.3 degrees, so the angle that UNC makes. Alright, what is the area of this triangular region? So in order to find area, I need 1/2 base times height. So I need to find that height right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, now imagine I have a right triangle right there, and kind of ignore the other half of the triangle, right? So this is the edge of my triangle now, and I can use law of sines. So I'm going to use angle B right here, which gives me the height as the opposite and 9.8 as my hypotenuse. So sine of 59.3 degrees equals h over 9.8. Do some little math there, algebra to get h alone for the height, and I get 115.3 miles squared. And then one important statistic that people need is the population density. And they do that by, as you can read right there, the number of people divided by the square miles. So we're going to take this number of people. So that's people divided by miles squared. That's going to give me 18,037 people per square mile. Okay, so hopefully you practiced that, noticed a little bit, but I mean, if you go back and look and analyze the triangles that we actually used the law of sines on, you're going to notice it was angle, angle, side, but it had to be a specific angle, angle, side. So, yeah, we have to have the angle and the side match up. SSA and ASA. We use law of sines when we had side, 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 or a side, angle, side. So right here, we have side, angle, side. I'm going to use law of cosines. Well, if I'm trying to find C, I could try setting up law of sines. But you're going to notice, right, no matter which one I try, the angle will always be missing and I'll always have two unknowns. So you don't necessarily have to memorize those, but I mean, like, how hard was it for me to quickly set up the law of sines, realize that didn't work, and then say, all right, law of cosines, here you come. So I want c squared, which is 11 squared, plus 8 squared, minus 2ac cosine 37 degrees. Do you use the law of sines here? Law of cosines. Well, I'm trying to find c again. So if you try to, like, if you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's the law of cosines. So I need to find c squared, and then you'll know right ahead, right, I don't have a, right? So right then and there, you realize I'm going to have two unknowns. That's not going to work. So before I even got too far, you can notice that. So, all right, law of sines it is, right? So c over sine of 105 equals, I have little b over big B. And solve. So really, I mean, you're not going to waste a ton of time. You're going to notice pretty quickly. And as you practice these more, you'll notice even better and better and better. Okay? Sometimes they're going to say and you'll just be careful with that. So notice this one, I have side, angle, side. If you remember, for that one, I'm going to use law of, this might be or, maybe, not sure, because you can find angle B right here. Nope, you can't, right? So 14 over sine B. So no matter what you use, if you use little a, you'll have a missing big A. Two unknowns. We can't do it, right? Dang it, right? We can't do that. So what we're going to need to do first is do the law of cosine. So we'll do c squared equals 17 squared plus 14 squared minus 2ac, ab, sorry, times cosine 112. Put that in our calculator, we'll get little c, and then we'll be able to use law of sines. So we'll just use those back to back. And that's really what we're doing. Good luck. If you need any help, shoot me an email.